Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host, and thank you for downloading today's episode. This episode was recorded in a room live with three of us, and we had handheld mics, in which I just wanted to apologize in advance for my very loud laughing, and because I like to do what I was told, which is to put the mic close to your mouth. And I've got my gentlemen guests with me who are not talking into the mic, so I couldn't adjust the levels as much as I would have liked to. So I apologize in advance that my laugh might jolt you or pierce your ear a little bit. It's not high pitch, but it does get a little bit loud at times. So I apologize in advance. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes.
And I am Doug Sandler, and welcome to 2019.
So the first week of 2019, we did release a show that was Doug and I and Michael Neeley, and we were talking about starting the new year off and some of the resistance people have to things like resolutions and change. And so we brought Michael back because we actually really want to talk about relationships, and we wanted to make it real specific for our show here.
You had no resistance to the alcohol that you were drinking on New Year's Eve, though.
No, I did not. But I actually fared very well. I stayed up very late, and I had energy the whole time, and I did not wake up feeling poorly.
Were you proud of me? I stayed up past 9 p.m.
I was so proud of you. Doug is a 9 p.m. It's time for bed, and he was up till 1 or 1:30. It was really awesome.
Well, technically, I was laying on the sofa probably dozing. And I was dozing during the entire dance party, so it's fine. It's good. I was sleeping on your shoulder as we were dancing. I was getting just quick cat naps in.
We went to something called Static Dance. Michael had invited us to in Santa Cruz.
Was that static dance or ecstatic dance? Because if it was static dance, then I did a good job because I was wearing cellophane pants.
And welcome to 2019.
And she was clinging to you throughout that whole time.
Welcome, Michael Neeley, to Women, Men, and Relationships.
Thank you.
Michael is a longtime guest of Fit to Love podcast. You've heard him many times over the last several years, but this will be the first time you're making a debut on the Doug and JJ version of Women, Men, and Relationships.
Did you say Doug and JJ Virgin, or what did you? What did you?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said for a second there. I thought you were calling Michael a virgin, and I was thinking that
he is a virgin to this episode on this show with you and me.
Very true, very true. He is also a born-again virgin in the world of marital status, almost.
I just have to say, be gentle with me, please.
All right, I'm going to move my chair. I'm coming closer to you.
Coming close I love it when JJ comes close to me, or at the same time as me. Is fine, too.
Ba-dum-bum. So what I want to talk about on today's show, let's start out, again, I'm going to follow this resolution New Year's theme with relationships because the three of us all have transitioned out of a marriage in 2018.
I would like you guys to know that I beat you to the punch, and that on December 18th I am officially divorced. So I'm a free agent right now. If there's anybody out there that is looking to understand what free agency really means, just let me. Hi, baby.
Hey, big guy.
Except for you, Michael.
What's your number?
Wait a minute. You offered to be naked do something to him earlier today in exchange for something. I don't remember what it was.
Well, hold on a second. You're the one that said that you got a little. I think for a moment you got a little worried there, where you figured out that hey, you're actually going to be single, and I'm like, single? I'm not single. I'm with you. But were you worried? Was there a level of doubt, hesitation, something?
No, I just want to let everyone know that there's a dishwasher going on in the background in case you're wondering if Doug is also trying to swallow and swish at the same time as if he's talking.
I am a swisher.
We are at Michael's. We're at Michael's. Oh, good Lord. We're at Michael's house. We're getting ready for dinner. We're having a glass of wine. It's New Year's Day, 2019, and there will be some background noise. Just thought I'd warn you ahead of time. So with this transition out of marriages, and if you're the first-time listener to the show, let me just first say none of us would necessarily say I think they were a proponent of people getting divorced or having or being flighty or non-committal with relationships.
Some of my best friends are my ex-wives. So I don't know what you're talking about.
totally all for divorce.
Okay, so just so we all know, I know that. So let's go from lowest to highest. We'll click on the little thing that tells us how many. So JJ actually is still currently married, but in the process of going through a divorce. I have now officially completed 2 marriages. Like it's a race. Like it's a race.
You're doing well.
And Michael is now completed 2 marriages, and he is going for divorce number 3, actually.
Which should be finalized soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm like thinking,
Paint a really good picture
not at
about
all. Like if I was a first-time listener, I'd say, who the fuck are you people to
Giving us
giving
advice.
any
We're here to
advice
coach-
about relationships?
You know what? Learn from our mistakes. That's
Right.
the idea.
Well, and
JJ didn't mean it. She didn't mean to get a divorce. She didn't mean it. I meant it on my first one. I didn't know what happened on the second one. And Michael, he's just totally fucked up. So I don't know what happened to him.
Now, let's not throw Michael under the bus. We are going to give him a chance to throw himself under the bus. No, why I'm bringing this up is because I think it's an important conversation to have. I was the person who thought there's no way in hell I'm getting divorced ever. I will do whatever it takes. I will do whatever it takes. And I've been actually, that mindset has really been what has pushed me to learn and grow in every way that I have. And if it wasn't for, let's say, my situation, we all wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and you wouldn't be listening to the show. And for some of you, the show has been really important for your growth. So it's a practice of surrender for me, of that I can't control other people. I can manifest and influence people, but that I got to the end point of there was nothing else I could do. So I'm not going to go down that sad story. You know that. It's called Sacred Contracts episode. Go back and listen to that.
I would just like to call my marital status, it's complicated.
No, you're now single.
Oh, that is very true. That is very true. Thank you for reminding me.
The point of today's show,
Yes.
why I've brought Michael on, why we're here on New Year's Day, is again to, regardless of where you are in your relationship, let's say you're happy, or at least you think you're happy, because Doug was happy. Doug thought his wife was happy, and then Doug realized she wasn't, and then she left. So no matter where you are in your relationship, things happen, and you can't control the other person. So when you get to an end of a marriage, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever, what have you, I want to use this moment for us to impart our wisdom that we've learned, the things that we've screwed up, the things that we wish we would have done better, or the things that we learned and the things that were absolutely perfect about what happened. Because I think the one of the things that slowed me down, although it was perfect timing because you and I would not have worked out.
It was the attorneys.
Yours was the attorneys?
That's what slowed the hell out of that first divorce.
Well, what slowed me down in a good way, I don't regret it, was the shame of thinking about failing and about not being able to find the answer to a commitment that I had made. So I want, if you're out there and you're having the shame that I had, or you're having the fear, or you're having that, I hope that this episode today inspires you, or you get a glimpse of hope, or maybe it inspires you to work on your marriage a little bit more. This is not going to be a podcast about please get divorced, look at your first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, and be, and make peace with it and move on. This is how to make lemonade out of lemons, and to really accept the lessons that come in our lives, and how to embrace them and best process and then leverage them. So I'm gonna hand over to Michael for right now, and I want you can just tell your story however you want to tell it, and in there let's weave in some, and I'm going to hand the mic back to Doug too, so the two of you can banter back and forth, but let him talk, please, Doug. I want to hear, you're talking to your future self, or you're talking to your past self, and your past self knows that this is going to have an end point. What would you tell yourself to say, you're going to go through with this, here's how it's going to end, but here's why you need to do it, or what do you appreciate about it?
Right. Okay. But first, before I get into that, though, I got a question for you, because I don't know if this is the right show or place or a topic that you would want to cover about it, but I think that an ideal time is coming, hopefully, that we shift our paradigm around divorce, because I noticed that you said how you felt like a failure. And I think that is a major problem that we have, is that we view divorce as a failure. And so many people stay together even though they're miserable and they shouldn't be together. They stay together because of either religious views or because of the fear of failure or what have you. And I just want to share this little story. I was at an event recently, and I told you guys about it. It's that one where a lot of our friends go to. And a lot of people found out that I was going through this divorce process, some for the first time, some knew it before, but even people who knew it, they came up, oh, I'm so sorry you're going through that. And others who just heard about it, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Except for one woman who said, she looked in my eyes and she smiled real big and said, congratulations. And I was like, yes, that is what I feel about going through my divorce right now. It is a move in the right direction. And for me, we have this paradigm that we think divorce is a failure or painful. And yes, it can be painful. I get that. But I think we should have a shift around it, that it's not necessarily that people are just going, oh, I'm so sorry, because when it's right and the time is time to move on, it's a good thing.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you on the level of emotional processing. Here's where I have a judgment about divorce, and I'll be very honest about this. In fact, I think it was this week or maybe even last week that I realized not only, and I was telling the story about Doug and I wouldn't be an item if Doug left his second wife. If he had had 2 divorces under his belt and we met and he was interested, I'd be like, no.
But what if he left her for good reason?
I would say then you made a bad choice the first and second time, and you might not have learned your lesson to make a new choice the second time. I believe you choose your partners to heal the wounds of your past. There are plenty of tools out there to fix a marriage. There is a reason you chose your partner. Now, your last situation is a little bit different. But the majority of people, when you're in love, when you're in infatuated love, and again, you not necessarily were in that, so I'm going to give you that pass. But the majority of people have this like this love feeling, and they feel this connection, and then they give up when it gets hard. And when they get triggered, they go into a very explainable, psychological, behavioral. It can be laid out for you how you're going to act. And here's where my whole show, all of this has been centered around, there is nothing you cannot fix. That doesn't mean you should stay together. I had told a couple who was getting divorced several years ago, friends of ours, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I said to her, look, you chose him for a reason, and he chose you for a reason. Go through the imago therapy process. It doesn't mean you have to stay together. Just figure out why you chose him. Figure out what wounds you need to heal, because this is about you. This isn't about what he did or didn't do. And then heal that, so at least on your next go-around, because that was her second divorce, on your next go-around, you won't make the same mistake. Now, it's her choice to make, she didn't do it. But for me, I have judgment around, I think, like abortion, and I'm getting to a heavy topic now. But there are a lot of people that don't take their commitments seriously when it comes to marriage. And so then just don't get married. Don't get married if you're so easily, if you think that your happiness is created by somebody else.
Okay, but I challenge this, because what if you want to get married, but you don't even have it be a part of your vows that this is a till life, or till death do us part thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like the whole idea of when you get married, till death do you part. And the reason that you feel to a degree that you have failed when you go through a divorce at the end of that is because, well, wait a minute, wasn't this for a lifetime?
Right.
Well, a lifetime or 20 years, whatever comes first.
Right, expiry date.
Okay, in that situation, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I never said in our vows, till death do you part. That was never part of my vows.
Well, then why get married? Why get married? Why, my son said something pretty wise to me. He says, I love you, you love me. Why do we need to get the government involved? It's like, okay, so we've committed to each other.
Okay, but here's my thing on it. And this, JJ, you can shut me down if this is not the time to bring this up.
Bring it on.
Okay. Marriage was created by the church at a time when it was desperately needed, where there were the church was taking care of so many unwed mothers and orphans because there was a lot of sex going on and people were not committed to each other. And so guys were sowing seeds everywhere. And so the church created it that no marriage, you need to be married to someone. And then not only that, you need to be married to them for life. And it is against religion to divorce. So they created this. But man, as an animal on this planet, we're not meant to mate for life. The church created that. Okay,
and I hear you on that. Here's what I'll say about marriages that work, though, long term. So my parents have been married for 40, going on 48 years, 49 years.
That's awesome.
And
twin beds, by the way.
Not true. Doug has not even been to the house yet. But
Mary Tyler Moore, Rob Petrie, all over again.
And I'm not saying that they are like the epitome of all things marriage, right? There are definitely things about their marriage that I don't love, but generally what is really safe for their children growing up is the loving, supportive, trusting, solid environment that I grew up in. And I do believe that that has a lot to do with our emotional development. And so if you're going to choose to bring children into the world, I think there's a responsibility of a foundation that you create. Now, I'm not saying that children can't, people have divorces and again, ultimately, we choose our path, we choose our partners, we choose when they end. It's all been chosen. But I think it's the lessons that you need to learn and the difference between someone who says, I'm going to take this on, I'm going to take responsibility for this, versus what I think happens, especially with a lot of men that have multiple divorces, is, they blame them. Like, it's like, you're the common denominator. You keep manifesting the same partner in a different person because you haven't fixed your shit. And that's where I've wanted to come in and inspire people to stop blaming your partner for the quality of your life or your happiness. And if more people were to take responsibility for their own shit, their own emotional inner life, their own baggage that they carry, their own wounds that they come with, then we work together to help each other, which is what imago therapy is all about. And we heal each other's wounds. We help each other. We love each other. We transcend that. It's like that, to me, is what I think people really want. They want to be deeply seen and known. They want to be able to be who they really are with somebody. But we can never get past all the shit in the front because of our protective mechanisms and our survivals and our habits and our patterns. So I think ultimately, while whether it's legal or not, I think a committed relationship is a yearning to be known and to be seen by at least one person on this planet that you feel like you're on the journey with, that really sees and knows you. But I get you and I hear you about the whole like legalization. If you walked into a marriage and said, hey, we're going to be married, but we're going to sleep with other people, I don't give a shit what you do. That's cool. But I think too many people expect it to last forever, never have a conversation of, well, what happens if we're not happy? What happens if we can't work it out? And is there a possible expectation that maybe in 20 years we will transition out of each other's lives? So that's where I just don't want too many people give up. And that's that's my point.
I agree with you. And I think the other piece of it and I think you would agree with this though too, is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and I think relationship is something that we move into to have a deepening, a growth, and a spiritual experience. And when that's over, the relationship has served its purpose, and frequently the relationship can be over. Now, I'm not saying that it's not great to have a lifetime relationship and that they may be on a spiritual journey forever. But I don't think that it is a mandatory thing that I know, for instance, with my second wife number 2, we have a child together and we co-parent together beautifully. We double date, we hang out together, we do family vacations. And as a matter of fact, they were here for Christmas Eve with her new husband, Jack, his 2 boys, my son, and me. We're all here having a wonderful Christmas evening together. And I think that's doable as long as you do have this appreciation, this awareness, and this tapped in knowing that, hey, we just as 2 human beings were growing apart. Our relationship, what we came together to accomplish, was done, and now we can move apart lovingly.
Again, the difference between a conscious relationship and an unconscious relationship.
For sure.
And I am saying that I believe that 95% of the relationships are unconscious.
I'm with you there. Yep.
So for the few people that can enter into a marriage and say, I agree with you, this is as long as we're doing a good thing and we're having a good time and we are in for the journey and we're up for the challenge and we want to dig deep and we want to be together and we want to be in this journey, cool. And then when we're not and we both agree, cool, we'll move on. But I think that the majority of people have such a religious, and there is a total shame factor. I would never want to be the person who is in a horrible, unhappy position. And you both knew me during my marriage. Was I an unhappy person?
Didn't seem to be.
No, I don't think that you were unhappy. I think that you were always one that was looking to better the relationship. Always.
Right, but most people didn't even know because I never made him responsible for my happiness. Mm-hmm. So I think that happier people can be in better relationships, and I've always tried to encourage that. So today's show isn't to promote divorce or even you getting married with a understanding or a desire that you may leave or transition. It's to take responsibility for and appreciate what you can in order to do, this is where we are. And this is what's happened. And this is what I've been able to control. And this is what I've learned. And this is why it's had to happen. So, thinking about Doug and my relationship and realizing, just like the instant manifestation of the lemons that we talked about last week, the timing was so divinely, there was no denying this soul connection, because it couldn't have happened 24 hours earlier. It couldn't have happened. Like there was no, like you were talking about yesterday. Do you want to talk about, like you made a comment about your last relationship. You said, well, couldn't I have just skipped over that one?
Oh, right.
And we said, no, because you never would be here. You had to do that to be here. And so I wanted us all to share our feelings and thoughts and appreciation, not in a surface way, in a real way, to recognize that some of the things that we're going through or have right now are directly related to either the pain or the inspiration or the situation that was created by our relationships. And even though that, so anyway, so you don't have to start, Mike. I'm going to pass the mic back to Doug because I'm talking a lot and I want to pass it on. But this is the setup. And so between you guys.
Pose your question.
So coming out of a marriage in 2018, what is it that you appreciate about what you learned about it? How did it help you? And whether you've healed the pain part of it completely or not yet, what can you honestly look back and say with true appreciation and knowing about what you learned or about what it did for you that otherwise you wouldn't have?
Okay, and I think we've talked about this on past episodes, but I want to emphasize it again, the fact that I believe truly that I have gone through these first two marriages unconscious, not realizing who I am, what I'm all about, the decision-making capacity that I actually have. I needed to stop being a people pleaser and do more of what make decisions based upon who I am. And I was making decisions for other people. I don't want to say that, oh, well, I just gave everything, whatever it would take in order for me to have this love in my life, because I think that my second wife was that love that I was looking for. My first wife, and again, I loved her, but I loved the things that I was able to do with her. I had two amazing kids with her, but I think in my second relationship, my second marriage, I think I fell head over heels in love, and I just completely went in whatever direction. I was like following the wake of her being, and I lost myself in that entire relationship, and I was unconscious. So for me, getting jolted awake with that coming home and having her gone, I realized like I needed a slap in the face. If I wasn't slapped in the face, it would have just gone on. It would have been horrible. It would have been I understand it would have been a bad relationship because I was not, it may not have from a surface perspective seemed like a bad relationship, but I wasn't happy. There was anxiety and stress and things that were happening to me personally that like, why am I having this much anxiety in my life? Well, because I wasn't being me. I wasn't being true to myself. And I didn't realize that until I was slapped in the face with this jolting moment of not having her in my life anymore. So while that was a horrible pain to go through, I don't think I could be where I am today. I know I couldn't be where I am today without that having had happened. So on one hand, I'm like, shit, that really hurt a lot. That sucked. On the other hand, I should really be thankful. I should thank her for doing what she did so that I could awaken myself when I did, because that for me was the biggest lesson.
Yeah, and it boils down to kind of like the butterfly effect. I mean, any one little shift along the path that in our past relationships, little changes could mean that we wouldn't be sitting here together right now. And I know for me, like my current divorce process relationship, let's just call her number 3, I wouldn't be here if not for that. And it's not that she pushed me towards anything or away from something, but it's just in the course of our relationship, I chose to start podcasting. And it's through podcasting that's brought me to know you two so well. So, yeah.
And it's through podcasting that you did your live event, and it's through podcasting that you attracted the people that you did. So your business has increased.
Totally.
Yeah. And what you're doing in the world has changed a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's had massive impacts in that way that are positive impacts that one can look at it and go, well, she didn't have anything to do with that. But everything, right. Because while she didn't, make any choices or decisions or steer me one way, she had no idea that I was starting a podcast when I chose to start one. And I brought it up to her. This is what I'm going to do. But it was in the relationship that potential opened. And so I do think that is something that we all really should consider when we're looking at the value of a relationship. It's like, okay, well, where might I have been had I not gotten into this relationship? So that's one part of it.
The other side of it, too, that I think so many people neglect to follow or understand is that you have gotten out of that response that you just provided is just an indicator of the type of person that you are and what you look for when something bad happens to you. Because anybody could have looked at that situation and said, well, that sucked. I mean, you can't possibly see anything bad. You look at it and discover the things that happened as a result of the marriage and then as a result of the divorce. I mean, while divorce is a shitty thing to have to go through, what are some of the positive things that have happened as a result of going through it? Or you have to recognize that. And you're the kind of guy that will recognize the positivity of the poor situation that happens.
Right, and I get that it's part of that is my personality type. I'm a type 7 in the Enneagram, and we tend to look for the brighter side of things. And I also feel like, for me, and it could be because of that personality type, but I don't understand why anyone wouldn't want to look for that. Because the truth is, we can all look for the negative shit in the world, and the more we look at it, the more we focus on that, the more we're going to be drawn to it and attract it to us.
And not only attract it to you, but attract more of that to you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so why do that? Why not? And you can sit there and go, well, I can't control my mind. Bullshit. It is one of the few things that we can control.
It absolutely
thinking,
is. You can control your thoughts, your interpretations, your response, your actions, and your emotions based on your interpretations of any situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it may take a little practice. It may take a little coaching. It may take some training to get it down, but you can do that. And so I think that's the number one thing is make the choice to look at what good came out of this.
We are all actually, as you're listening to this, at Releasing What Weighs You Down in Los Angeles. And too late, can't buy the virtual ticket anymore. However, there will be something that comes out in the future. In terms of the reason why I thought about that is because there is you've all heard me talk about it. It's the Marshall Rosenberg nonviolent communication work, and it is about what you can control. And Michael's pouring me wine, so in case we're all a little tentative. Oh, and I got the rest of it. Okay, great. You're not listening to this show. You are not attracted to me at all if you do not understand on some level, even maybe not consciously, that you choose your thoughts and you are the creator of your own reality, because you could not be attracted to me otherwise. It's very, very apparent, even though I've heard from some of you, hey, Trevor, that some people have listened to me and then got a slap in the face and appreciated the slap in the face. Trevor has become a client, and when I asked him he was going to come to the event, and then he couldn't because he's in charge of like kidney transplants, and they have to have a transplant.
I love when you slap me in the face, by the way, just so you know.
All right, thanks, babe. But shout out to Trevor. I'm gonna have to because I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10 when he found the podcast, like where was he emotionally, and then where was he now. So I had an idea of where we were working towards, and even just the show alone was something that was really inspiring and life-changing, I guess, because, again, and those of you that are listening, I don't know you. Like, I know some of you, but I don't know all of you. So if this is resonating for you, you know that there's some truth in this.
Just reach out to JJ or dial 4242 DJ Doug if you want to really share in verbal form what your message is with JJ.
Yeah, actually, we'll put your message on the show if anyone has any questions. Just when you call 4242 DJ Doug, make sure to let us know this is for women, men, and relationships and not for nice guys on business, because you're going to get the wrong answers on that show.
Ooh, I'm going to call in.
Please do. But please be on our show and not nice guys. So, no. Well, because I want to talk with Michael. I don't want you and Strickland to talk about it. I want to be involved. I appreciate that you want to challenge me, Michael, because you're not challenging me. I agree with you 100%. And I think we agree 100%. And I want you to be the voice of the person out there who is conscious, who is saying, no, but what if I don't believe in marriage forever and I'm okay with it and I don't have shame about it? Because I think I represent a lot of people who do have shame about it, shame about the idea. I mean, I know a couple who they won't get divorced because of financial reasons, and they haven't been together for a long time. He cheated, she smoked, they don't have any relationship, they don't like each other at all, and I'm like, I don't get the toxicity in that.
Wait, who is that?
You know, I'll tell you later.
No names.
I'll tell you later, but
That's not us, is it? No. Did you start smoking again?
You're so funny. You're so funny, baby.
Do you smoke after sex?
Oh my!
I don't know. I've never looked.
Never looked. Exactly. I set you up. You slam dunked it, brother.
Okay, there's just like joke after joke here. Okay, too much fun. It should be illegal. Well, I hope today's show has hopefully inspired you, at least allowed you, or given you permission to feel shame, or, I mean, not feel shame. I'm not trying to shame anybody. Acknowledge that there's shame. No. It's not. I couldn't identify shame for a long time. And when I finally was like, oh my God, that's shame. Like, just identifying it made me go, oh, well, that's dumb. Like, why am I holding on to that? Like, why am I beating myself up?
Hold on a second. We got to get real for just a moment, because so my concern is this. And again, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot. I'm not meaning to bring up any emotional baggage that you may. Okay, I'm going to bring it on. You feel shame. You feel shame. Okay? I'm going to give you a chance to respond, but I just want to set it up just for a moment. We've had many conversations where you feel the weight of the decision to bail out of your marriage. You feel the failure that weighs you on you sometimes. So I want to just so we offer some reality to those that are in our community, to talk about that, or tell me why that's not the case.
No, I'm still releasing shame. And yes, I feel it. And yes, I've talked about it. We were in Cabo and I was crying in the show.
No. I know that, but I want the community to understand. Okay, so that Cabo, that was how long ago? 2 months ago? A month and a half? So we're in Cabo 2 months ago, 3 months ago almost, as of the airing of this episode. What has changed for you since then from an emotional perspective?
So grief and pain. I mean, this is why I do events like Releasing What Weighs You Down. Like when you have an idea or belief about something, especially something like marriage, I had a very firm, again, I have an example of parents who've been married almost 50 years. It was never, I've worked this hard to not be here. So the idea of, again, I know and I believe, and we were listening to Abraham today on the way up to San Francisco, you know, the difference of like manifesting and when you don't believe something, how you slow yourself down, the resistance that you put in front of that. But I believed 100% without a shadow of a doubt that I would get the relationship that I wanted. I just thought it was going to be from my husband. So that, you know, I didn't have to control the how, but I knew and truly, truly in my bones believed, because I wanted it so badly that I would have it. So yes, I still have shame, because partly, some of it because of other people's judgments, but also because of the lack of how I could inspire or influence or encourage, or maybe the things that I didn't learn fast enough or well enough. Thanks, Michael. He's handing me Kleenex. That I didn't learn, or to kind of, as for lack of a better word, compensate.
Okay, and how about the positive spin? And I'm not looking to have you to convince you about, well, where's the positivity in this? But without all of that you've gone through, this community, this environment that you've created, none of this would be possible. And I know, you're emotional about it, and I know that I just want to share with you how much the community, I know, appreciates, unfortunately, the pain that you've had to go through in order to get here. Because without that pain, none of this would even be happening.
I know. And I That's why I've shared it multiple times on the show. And it's funny because sometimes I'll start crying to tell a story and you'll be like, okay, what's the lesson in this? And I'm like, no, I just want to show them because I'm always about the lesson. Let me be real right now and share with you the pain, because most people have pain and they're not looking for the lesson. They're looking for the connection of okay. Oh, you're human too. Oh, you do feel what I do.
That's what I want to share. I want to share with them the human side of what you've gone through and the reality of where it has led you, the awesomeness that you've created as a result of going through this tremendous amount of pain.
And as I've said before, and as I started today's show, I wouldn't be where I am with the show, with this community, with the event, with stepping into and out of a comfort zone and into a bigger calling and into manifesting more ideas and programs and products and services and podcasts and relationships, and manifesting you, who is a soulmate and a perfect partner for me on so many levels. I mean, there's not even like anything where that's possible, like, okay, this could irritate me or be a problem, is an opportunity for growth for me that I see as one fraction of all the other positive things that I've been holding on to and waiting for and hoping to have in my marriage for so long. Now, again, we're still, 8 months in, so stay tuned, everybody, because, as relationships...
Does this mean he's coming back?
No, I'm saying, no. I'm just...
You're sure he's not coming back? I've kept the doors locked now for a year almost.
No, I'm saying that there's a honeymoon phase event for a relationship, and then the reality sets in of the patterns. And thank God you want to go to a Imago Therapy workshop with me, yes, where we're going to really look at this stuff. And we've already started doing some of that. So to really take those lessons and not let them slow us down. And we know where we are. And this is what's going on the momentum is really, really, really good. It doesn't. And so while I'm super happy, content, I have manifested exactly what I want in so many ways. That doesn't mean that I'm immune to the pain and the disappointment and the sadness and the shame and the self-judgment and the anger that still exists from what has happened. So the reality of yes, because you brought it up, so now I'm crying. But I am.
Way to go, Doug.
Yeah, way to go, Doug.
Sorry, everybody.
No, and crying is not a problem. I have no problem crying, but and it's a good thing to release. But I think everyone hears that this couldn't have happened any other way. I wouldn't be this there's no. All of it, the podcast, all of it couldn't, just life-changing. It had to be this way. Our contract was so specific to get me here. And for that, I am forever grateful for the contrast that I've had and what I've learned about myself, about him, about others, about relationships. And while I hate that word, divorce, my mother ran into a cousin of mine and said, I don't know if you've heard, and she said to me, I hope it's okay that I told her. And I said, that's fine. And you're welcome to say whatever you want. But if I had a choice, could we stop using the word divorce? I don't like it. It feels, for the majority of the population, it feels like an angry, upsetting, in contrast with each other kind of word. I said, can we just say we broke up or we consciously uncoupled?
Uncoupled.
I know my mother's never going to say consciously uncoupling.
It's like saying, to someone that has never had fish before, hey, look, there's this thing that swims in the ocean. You don't believe me, but there really is, and they taste amazing. Just like it's so hard to conscious uncoupling from somebody that's any further east than Arizona is not going to happen. My mom said, no, you fucking broke up. You guys got divorced. It was messy. It was ugly. And I was like, okay, whatever. I don't want to get hung up on a word.
Right.
I don't want to get hung up on a word.
And I'm only hung up on it because of the vibrational relationship to what people attach to it. And I don't care. Hold on. So I'm just saying, so consciously uncoupling or deciding, I wrote a very beautiful post on Instagram and on Facebook about the decision that we had to transition our relationship into friendship. And we did. We have decided together, this wasn't a one person to another, this was together, we decided to transition. And even though I would have kept fighting, I, at a year and a half in, decided I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight for something someone else isn't fighting for.
And I would just tell you to change your relationship with the word divorce, because while we all know, the three of us sitting here at the table know what a conscious uncoupling is and moving on or going beyond where you are or improving your life or whatever you want to call it, 99.9% of the world has no fucking clue what you mean when you say conscious uncoupling. So I would say, for me, to tell you to just lose your relationship with the word divorce.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Okay.
Well,
And it,
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, marriage is just a word. Divorce is just a word for the end of the marriage, and it's like the word fuck. We give it meaning, and it can be loaded differently for different people. And so I get that divorce is loaded for you right now. And so I see what Doug's saying as well. Just kind of maybe let go of that loading of it, let go of that juice, and just know it's just a term meaning you're in the marriage.
and that's fine. I just don't want to use it.
Yeah.
So
Michael's had a lot of experience with that word, so we should listen to him. He's
I
a
fly my
wise
divorce
man.
banner proudly.
okay, so then I guess let's wrap this up in the can we because I want you to speak to that. So someone who's listening, let's go both sides, right? Because the person who's listening who lives in Santa Cruz is like, woohoo, congratulations, Michael. Okay, they don't need convincing. Let's talk about the other person, the person who is worse than me, who is like, oh my God, you've been married multiple times and divorced. Like, oh my God. Like, let's talk about.
Oftentimes, before you even ask the question, oftentimes it's not that person, it's their family and their connection with that word, and they don't know how to interpret those words coming into them. So they get this feeling of, well, geez, maybe I did fail. It's not the word creates the situation. It's the feeling that you're getting from the person projecting that word to you.
Yeah, for me, it's like a fish doesn't know it's in water. And so someone who's been raised a certain way around divorce or marriage or the church saying that this is how it should be, that's the water they swim in, and they don't realize it. And so when they see something different, it can really mess them up. And so to think like someone could look at me and go, you've been divorced 3 times. What the fuck's wrong with you?
And so what would you say to that?
And my mom would just say, he's just getting started.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, go Rosalie.
Well, let's look at someone, you know who Neil Donald Walsh is, right? I think he's on number 7 right now.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And he
Conversations
feels
with
like,
God? Does he talk to God about his
I
marriages?
believe so, and I think he's really found who he's wanted to. And the only reason I even know about this was because I interviewed Arielle Ford on my show, and she talked about it.
Oh, I interviewed her too. We didn't talk about him.
Yeah, well, I was going through divorce at the time, so that came up as part of the topic. But so I would say that for someone who thinks that you should be together forever, I don't know anybody who doesn't have an example of somebody who's in a relationship that they know they should not be in that relationship. So what is it? What rule or what belief system are they following that makes them stay there? It's either religious or it's socio. I mean, it's like they're thinking because of the peers. People are going to think that I'm a loser or that I failed or whatever. There's something keeping them there that doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, please.
No, I'm with you on that, and I get it totally, 100%. So let me ask you, I guess, this question: do you have experience with people who have, like my parents? Do you know people who have had a successful relationship for 50, 60 years?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I do. I know a couple, and one of them, some of my favorite people. So this is an interesting, just a little side story, but one of my best friends from college, his father died. And his mother remarried her gynecologist, the one who delivered my friend. And they were together until he died. And, I mean, many, many years. And I knew them throughout. I mean, like I said, he's one of my best friends from college. The most loving, genuine, heartfelt relationship I've ever experienced.
He kicked the tires a little bit before he was had to get into that relationship.
Yeah, so he knew what he was in
what
for.
he was getting into,
Right.
literally.
Yeah. I won't go there.
Sorry. That's a little bit of Doug humor. Nice Guys on Business, Tuesdays and Thursdays, fuckery episode.
So I have seen it, and I so love it, and I think it's great. And I'm not saying that it's not something that we should aspire to, if maybe that's what we want. But maybe it's also not what we want. That's the other thing, too, that's a whole different topic, which I've talked about on my show, Consciously Speaking, Mondays at... No,
No, please, promote your show. Promote your show.
Just Consciously Speaking. Check it out, Mondays. But the thing that frequently what we believe we are supposed to want is imposed upon us by society in some form or another.
Absolutely.
And so I think to even think that you should look at being married for life is imposed on us by society.
Okay, so I wanted, but that's what I wanted.
But yeah,
right,
if it's what you
right.
want, I get it
and,
totally.
And I know a lot of people who come from divorced families who then expect themselves to get divorced, so they do.
That's what your husband, your ex-husband to be, also wanted when he got married. So at what point did I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but at what point did he say, I guess I wasn't right. This isn't what I wanted. Being married shouldn't be this hard.
Well, but here's the thing, though. This is why I don't think we're meant to mate for life, is people change.
Right.
And we don't necessarily change the same way, and we can grow apart. And if we do, then I think it's time. Not necessarily. I mean, maybe you can work out the relationship and stay together, but a lot of times you can't, and you need to end the relationship. And there are those where the relationship grows together, and you continue to, literally connect paths even. And so those are out there too.
But it's a choice. It's a choice. Even if it grows apart, goes in a whole different direction, that I didn't change at the rate that you changed. It is a conscious choice to decide, I'm just not willing to do what I need to in order to put that path parallel again.
Dougie Doug. Now, for me to have met the path in my third relationship, I would have had to have a sex change.
Okay, well, that was a whole different conversation, and you have yet to done the Imago exercise. So until we do that, I don't agree with you about we're not meant to mate for life. I do believe on one level.
We are?
I believe we want to be known, and I believe we want to be connected. I believe we want a experience of vulnerability and godly knowing connection that we are never going to get in any other relationship that is not as safe as what a marriage could offer when you really understand all the components. I really do believe that, Harville and Helen have been married for a very long time, but I do believe it's his second marriage. And because he only created Imago after coming out of the first marriage, going, why did that not work? And really studying why we are attracted to our mates, why we choose them. And then 30 plus years ago, creating Imago therapy. So when I heard that, it resonated so deeply for me that I do believe, because I have to say that is the one thing I crave, and I think we all crave it on some level. I think we have protective shells that we end up putting on ourselves that protect us from being really seen and known, and we have this sort of happy pace of okay, as long as we're here and we're good and it's light and we're happy and we're together and we're flowing, that's all good. But all of a sudden, if I have resistance, ooh, that's uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. And that's where my issue with people giving up too soon and not taking the lesson and not and getting out too early. Now, if you go into the whole thing saying, I never want to be married currently, or I never want to be married to one person forever, and I'm doing the marriage for legal reasons to save money and to get the benefits of doing legal things. I don't give a shit what you do. I don't give a shit what you do anyway. But I think that's a different agreement. But when you actually go into it thinking, for a lot of us, and maybe you didn't, a lot of us went into, Doug wouldn't have left his second wife, and I didn't leave. I asked the question, do you want to be married anymore? At some point I had enough self-respect after a year and a half to say I want to be with someone who wants to be with me. I think that's fair. But I also know myself, I'm going to work real hard, and I worked real hard, and I stayed patient, and I did what I could. I did the best I can. But there does come a point in which you can't control other people. I've tried every fucking thing under the planet. I'd like to meet the person who's done more than me. I really would. Please, if that's you, contact me. I'd love to know what else I have not done or tried to save my marriage, because that would be, because I literally, that's why I've learned so much. That's why I know anything about any of this, is because I studied it to have the best marriage I possibly could.
But then you should know, if you've done everything you can to save it, that it was beyond saving. And for me, though, quite honestly, I don't think it's your fault. I don't think it's your soon-to-be ex-husband's fault. I think it is because it's the system's fault. Several thousand years ago, marriage didn't exist. It is a man-made creation. Do you think that cavemen mated for life? No, I don't think as a species we are designed to mate for life. And I think we're only now really discovering it after the church has created it and tried to force that on us, that we're now finding divorce rates at higher than 50%.
So while I do agree with that caveman biology understanding, I still think that they, now in our new conscious level that we're in, that we do want connection in such a deep way that we do want to find one person that we can totally be on a journey with unlike anyone else on the planet.
And I think we're intelligent enough to make that happen. I think that we can make it happen even in the face of adversity and even in the face of all of these things that we have that are differences. I think we're smarter than having to follow nature. I think we have the ability to override nature. And if nature's attitude is you should have as many mates as you want to, I think we should have the ability to override that because we're intelligent.
I agree with both of you on both of those counts. And what if, this is the part you're not taking into consideration, what if by choice, because you also said earlier, we have a choice and we design our own life. I choose not to be continuing a relationship.
A lot of times it's only one of the partners that decides that.
Exactly,
So that's where the pain comes in, and that's where the challenge comes in, is
Right.
that in my particular case, I wasn't ready to leave that relationship, and that was forced upon me, not given a choice. And if we're given a choice, one partner is oftentimes is the instigator of the breakup.
Right, and that could bring up a whole nother episode, because what happens when one person is ready to go and the other isn't?
Yeah, to be continued, because this episode could be 5 hours long with some wine and talkers on mics. No, I agree, and it brings up a lot of great points. I'm not saying that it comes down to what is your belief, what is it that you want, and are you using your beliefs to skirt your growth, or are you using, right, because I talk about addiction on a couple of the shows, and sometimes we are so uncomfortable. Like we have so many more addictions now than we ever have, because we are so disconnected from our emotions that we find ways to numb ourselves. And so I think marriage is one of the only places in life besides children that give you an opportunity to really go deep within yourself, to do some healing and some reflection. And when we don't take that opportunity, I'm not even going to say challenge, because I think it's an opportunity, because there's nothing poor that could come out of you self-reflecting and taking responsibility for any wounds that you have that are unhealed. Why are you upset about the situation? Why are you interpreting it this way? I've been asking why since I was 12 years old. I think that relationships are the grounds for self-improvement and mastery, unlike any other opportunity in life. We can leave jobs, we can leave partners, we can, business partners, but a marriage, when we're locked in, that is like, it's the padded, what's the padded room? Like a padded room, if you will. But it's that, like, no, you wouldn't know.
Well, wait a minute. You've been married 3 times. You would know.
Oh, right. My rooms didn't come with padding.
It's almost like the accountability needed to not run away in some ways. And again, this will be continued, this conversation, because I could keep going on, because that just brought up another thought that I had. So let's leave us with 2019 thoughts about lessons, relationships, sacred contracts, and how to transmute pain energy into purpose, into passion, and into clarity for moving forward. And I think you have, Doug, you gave yours, and Michael, you gave yours. Are you complete with your answer, I believe, in terms of, or do you have more to say about this last?
Well, I think just for my last relationship, I think the big lesson that I had from this is don't override my own intuitions, which we talked about last night for our New Year's Eve talk. And yeah, that's a big lesson for me. Don't override my intuition.
Which you did.
I did.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
I did. JJ.
I did. Thank
Well,
you, JJ.
but that's no, and I'm saying that because we didn't talk about the situation. We didn't give details about your situation.
True.
So I'm kind of giving you the third divorce pass, because it really wasn't. It was you overriding your intuition from the beginning.
Jesus, you would figure out when she was a lesbian that she didn't actually like him.
Well, she was bisexual when I married her. I knew that, and. Yeah, there was lots of things. We'd have to go in another episode.
I know. Don't worry. We're going to continue. We're going to continue.
JJ's got to call her mom back. We don't have time for this.
Oh, my God, I do. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in to Women, Men, and Relationships. And stay tuned next week. And we will have Michael Neeley back. But in the meantime, Michael, one more time, where can people find your podcast?
You can check me out a couple of podcasts. Consciously Speaking, which releases new episodes on Mondays. Buy This, Not That, which is very sporadic because that's the way it's built. And Something to Whine About, which who the fuck knows, because it's more fun It's more fun to record them than it is to release them.
A lot of wine drunk in that wine.
Yeah,
Podcast.
you guys have been on several episodes that have never seen the light of day.
Exactly. A whole year has gone by almost. And Doug, where else can people find you?
The Nice Guys on Business podcast, 5 days a week, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify now, a whole bunch of places. Tune in. And if you have any questions about that one, 4242 DJ Doug is the phone number.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye.